Yes.
which is a
Oh, I
joke.
see. Colby
That-
is there. Uh-huh. Technical support.
Hey, I'll take it.
How you doing?
No, no kidding. No kidding. So how's everybody doing? What's going on?
We're doing
We're
good.
doing good. We're just back from vacation
Yeah,
and ready to rock and roll.
I know. Well, this is really special. Today's subject is going to be ZoSo.
Because last week Lori asked.
Yes.
Oh, it was you that started this.
Me.
There you go.
Yeah, Lori. So here we are.
Yeah,
And it was just kind of coincidental.
yeah, and I will say, you did give me a real big one to chew on, but this is going to be fun. When I first met Colby, like 25 years ago,
Yeah.
I noticed that she had a guitar case.
Well, guitar, and then it was
And
in
I-
the case.
Right, and I said, where did you get that?
Oh, and I said, we rehearsed this, right?
Right.
No, and I said, guy
Obviously not.
I knew in Miami. Yeah, thank you. A guy I knew in Miami. I don't know why he wanted to get rid of this guitar. I thought it was kind of crazy because it was a 1973 Fender Strat, and I couldn't imagine why he wanted to get rid of it. But he needed money, and I think I spent like $800. And my guitar case had the Led Zeppelin symbols on them,
Yeah.
just by coincidence.
So when I saw this, I said,
Here, covering this. Oh no, that.
this one's cool. I really know this.
I thought you were going to tell me. I thought you were going to tell me when I saw the tattoo, I knew.
Oh no. No, it's tattooed on the case.
And so,
Anyway,
wait,
so there-
does it? What year?
It's in 1973.
Really?
Do you still
Yeah,
have the
here you
guitar?
Here, hang on. Oh, God.
Did somebody put the insignias on it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when I bought it, it was like this.
It was used.
No, yeah, but what I mean is, it's not supposed to be a heritage guitar.
No, it's an original.
Oh wow! Well, that's yeah.
1973.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
That's great.
So
that's cool. Nothing
this
better
is,
than a Strat.
No, so there you go. My introduction to meeting Brad, and then he thought I was cool enough to date, I guess, after that.
Oh, and he
So-
used the old. Would you like to know what those things mean? Is he used that? Okay, would you like me to tell you about your guitar case?
Yeah, tell us later. Oh, yeah, right. No, but he's going to talk about ZoSo tonight. Thanks to Lauren's quick thinking.
There you go.
Well, but I mean, it's interesting because I think I don't really know much about ZoSo. Really,
No.
I mean, I remember Led Zeppelin before ZoSo, and I remember Led Zeppelin after ZoSo, but it never bothered me. Well, all right, let me ask a question. When did they adopt that? When did that happen graphically? What year?
so that was a good question. I actually would say shortly before the album. I don't have the exact date on when they use the copyright piece on that, but I can tell you this. It kind of starts way before. Your basic internet search will yield out something like this. I think I pulled up, if you want to pull up kind of the brief descriptions of what the symbols mean, this is what your basic internet search pulls up.
All right, here we go. Hang on.
Oh, the great sign.
Yeah.
Jewelers,
Right.
the Bradley's Jewelers
What?
Secrets and Symbols of Rock and Roll.
That's not the one I wanted to pull up.
That's a
No,
good
you
sign.
wanted to put up.
Aha.
Not that one. We'll get to that in a minute. That is actually a page.
ZoSo sign, Stevie.
The original. Well, I can't. The thing just comes up as it comes up.
There you go, right there.
Oh,
Your-
yeah.
Okay.
Your
This
basic
one?
internet search pulls up this hollow information where it just has like a brief description that ZoSo means, the planet Saturn, and because Jimmy Page is a Capricorn, that it had some semblance to him. And although that's true, it is a profoundly incomplete answer.
Okay.
And the subsequent images that we have on the bottom, we're not going to go too much into those tonight because each one of those are a big subject on their own. And we're going to talk about them later. But they all do, in symbionts, work with ZoSo. And what that meant was, see, ZoSo is what's called a sigil. And a sigil is like
It's
a
called
seal.
a what? A sigil?
Sigil.
S-I-I-L. Sigil. And
We're gonna have
that
to
is
work
the-
out graphics for these things. I
Yeah,
could hit,
I know.
you know, because I could hit the button and it could do, you know, I could have it. So, but next, that's
And
all right.
Sigil.
To be continued.
So,
Sigil.
A sigil is like a caricature that is a magical seal. So, like when we talk about incantations of the occult, they have like these little seals and symbols that they come up with.
Like an image.
Yeah, an image.
Yeah.
And-
That's descriptive of their own language.
Exactly. And what's also interesting is where that ZoSo image came from was really from a grimoire, being a textbook of magic, from what's called the Red Dragon. And that is a French alchemist back in like the 1500s. And what he did in his little book, and if we scroll, remember I sent some other images to you, scroll through a few of them. I'll tell you where to stop.
Okay.
Keep
Let's see. Here we go.
it coming. Right there, stop.
Okay.
Okay.
Go back.
I forgot there's a, you got a delay.
So right there, when you look, what that is, those are different planets on the left, because this is all about astrology. If you go on
That's
the
what
left,
it's about. It's about astrology.
yes, this is about astrology.
Yeah.
Also known as the harmony of the stars or planets, harmony of the planets. See, each planet kind of has their own vibration, if you will. And the theory of astrology is those vibrations that surround us eventually influence our lives. Whether we choose to ignore it or not, or accept it, to a person who truly believes they understand how it all works, they adhere to this. And the planet Saturn, if you look on the bottom, it says ZoSo right at the very beginning.
Oh.
A deeper explanation
In their own language.
in their own language. Now
Of
it's
symbols.
right. Now here's what gets interesting. Every magician, alchemist of that time, and even today a little bit, but really back then, kind of had their own brand of script. So it really was singled out this book that really influenced this process of saying, okay, ZoSo. But again, why would he do that? It's just so
It seems obscure.
obscure. So here's how the story kind of goes. Aleister Crowley, okay? He was an English person who was born around 1875, and he grew up in a wealthy family in a very strict religious, almost coven of religious
Like a dogma.
a dogma, very, very heavy. And in doing this, he grew up really having all enjoyment type processes. Like,
Removed from his life.
right, he had to live, instead of going out and playing with his friends, he kind of lived at home and read the Bible. I mean, he really lived a very devout life, not of his choosing.
His parents were incredibly strict and wanted him to live a meager existence to the point where they didn't even feed him.
Yeah, very.
To the point where he was malnutritious.
He,
What's the right word?
malnutrition. He wound up he wound up as a young child going into hospital for this. His father, around 11 years old, passed away. And the doctor said, listen, Aleister's not going to live much longer if he lives a life of this modestness. I mean, he's got to eat. He's got to live.
His mother wasn't capable of handling it because
Right.
all she cared about was religion.
So they sent Aleister off to an uncle who lived in the mountains.
To a what?
And
Uncle.
lived in the mountains in England.
and gave him a good life.
Yeah, I mean, taught him how to, eat and
Play
and
and
live off the land and get fresh air, and he became powerfully inspired by this. And so inspired, he went to the arc of another end of saying, well, listen, I wasn't supposed to study this or understand all of this satanic occult. I'm going to read everything I possibly can. And it just so happens he was brilliant. He was a very bright guy. And so with this enlightenment of getting all of these different Kabbalistic, being able to read Hebrew, learning how to read astrology charts, and also all of these other different occult practices, he became really quite elevated in his thought and said, wait a second, there's something to this.
There's more out there
There's
than just
more
one
out there than
thing.
we know.
Yeah.
And what he did is he kind of worked on this grand unified theory that a lot of people are starting to really understand a little bit more about in life, that the planet Saturn that you and I call used to be called by the Greeks, because it's actually a Greco-Roman name. Before it was the Roman name, it was the Greek name, Chronos, like chronometer, like time. That it was the planet of time, and it deeply influenced when we were born and when we died, and a lot of the stuff in between. It was a really big deal planet. In fact, it was even a bigger deal planet than Jupiter. Even though the physical size is different to us today, the way we look at it, back then, Saturn had these, and they knew about things, which was interesting. When I say they, going back to the Greek times, they knew more about that planet than lets on.
And why this influenced
Right, here we go.
Led Zeppelin and Jimmy Page specifically is because guess what? The astrological sign of Jimmy Page is.
Cornucopia, or also known as Capricorn.
Which is the planet Saturn.
Well, it breeds that when planet Saturn is opened up. Remember, I said it's a seal. The seal of Saturn. If the seal of Saturn is opened up, and it mind springs from there, the cornucopia of Capricorn bears fruit. The fruit of knowledge, the fruit of wisdom, of do what you will, and that was the moniker of Aleister Crowley.
Do what you will.
Do what you will. Live your life on your terms. Forget the dogma. Forget, you know what? In fact, go against what you've been taught, because until you are lost, you cannot be found. And that visceral explosion of art, science, culture, all of these things, because alchemy had a lot of that in it, and it put all of that was an inspiration to Jimmy Page to bring this.
And tell him why. He bought.
Oh yeah, he bought Aleister Crowley's house.
Right.
Yeah, I knew that. I knew that.
Yeah, and
he found some of the literature that he had written.
Quite a bit.
And he got all into it.
Right.
And said, "Hey, do what you will, and look at rock and roll."
Yeah, and here's the interesting last part of it. So we talked about the Greeks and the Romans, how they borrowed off each other, but guess who borrowed off of them? I mean, who they borrowed off of?
Originally.
The Egyptians, because the Egyptian gods translate to the Greek gods, which translate to the Roman gods. They're all the same. It was a grand unified theory, and when Aleister Crowley came to this realization of this grand unified theory of these different planetary, and it's all about the planets. He was deeply inspired. And this is all based on ancient wisdom that, hey, some believe it, some don't. It doesn't really matter. Guess what it did? It inspired some of the greatest music. And there we go to.
And what you told me, which I thought was fascinating, was Crowley went through quite a transformation, because he lived an insane life for a while and did what he will without worrying about the consequences.
Yeah.
But then when he got older,
he
realized
he failed in health, and he remarried and had children, and he found joy in having family at the end part of his life.
So he switched. So it was do what you will, but now there are consequences.
And
so it's the evolution of his life, and it's very fascinating.
It is fascinating. Yeah, wow. So, okay, because I mean, people, I saw something go by, how everything goes by in the news feed of something about Jimmy Page and the occult, and I was never under the impression that he was trying, I'm sure he was interested in it, but I didn't think he was, like practicing the dark arts or whatever.
Well, I
think he
think
was just
that
using
the moniker
symbology.
of dark arts is oftentimes a misnomer. It's kind of like you got you have people who use their spirit for good, and you have the people who use their spirit for bad. It's all about choice, and there are people who make great choices and go with that path of peace and enjoy life, and no matter what religion or whatever they believe, as long as they have that path of honesty, righteousness, and kindness, that's all that I think rock ever wanted.
Well, yeah, I believe it's all about, as far as what I know, the message that, that I grew up with, or, learning was, that it is about do what you want, do your thing. Don't stomp on anybody else's thing, but that goes back to Buddhism too. Anything in moderation without adverse effects.
If you want to send up a couple of those images, I'll be able to highlight a couple of points in there that's interesting to the point.
Okay.
So this is another page from that grimoire. And if you notice, some of the other symbols are in there, like the three rings, those are of John Bonham.
Let me get myself in front of this
bottom
image.
left.
Where am I? Oh, here it is. Okay, so if I do this, okay, well, kinda.
Down.
Here, you know what? I have a better. Go to another picture. I have a picture of the four with their symbols underneath them.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the red picture. Okay, that's coming up pretty quick. Okay.
Okay. So I don't know if you can zoom it, but the image of each one of them is underneath their portrait.
I can zoom it. Who do you want me to start with?
Go to Jimmy Page.
How's
All right.
That?
See right there underneath there is ZoSo.
Yep.
Right.
I see it.
Okay. Now, if you go to the bottom right, you can see Robert Plant.
Okay. Right.
He has a feather with a circle, and that is unity. The circle is unity, infinite for infinity, and the feather has long going back. This symbol has been claimed to go back almost 15,000 years. We're talking pre-recorded history. Some believe it, some don't, but that symbol has been around way long, and that feather is the instrument to write and the instrument to bring truth.
Like the quill.
Interesting. I mean,
There's more to it. We're not going to spend all day.
Another time.
Well, we got a little bit of time. You want to go on, or do you want to go back to a different image, or?
Let's go to another image. Go to another image. Let's have fun.
Okay, let me get to another image. See, usually this would be done by the people in the booth, but I don't have a booth.
You have booth people?
I don't have.
Right here.
Yeah, right. Okay. All right. So let's see where we're going. Oh, next. Okay, next. Tell me when.
Okay, so do you see on the bottom left-hand corner, there's like what's crudely called a Trinity symbol.
Yep.
Yes.
That right there. Now, although that is a Trinity symbol, but that symbol has many lives. It's gone back way, way, way back. In fact, Archimedes used to draw that symbol on the beach to explain the three realities, the three infinities that we must deal with in life. One of the infinities is the astro, so large it's bigger than the sky.
The world's so far away.
It can still affect you. the world that's so small, the world that's indivisible, you can't see it. It's like invisible to your
The
eye.
molecules, the atoms. The
That
world
too can affect you. And then the world that you and I experience every day. Those three infinities all work together. And he used to talk about this as a form of logic, of understanding about how to work with life. It is an interesting principle.
When you open the three, explain how
Yeah.
it happens.
So now we're going to jump to the other symbol, over to the middle column, straight up, the triangle, right, with the three, with the circle in the middle. Right, bingo.
Okay, yep.
Yeah. So that symbol and the Trinity symbol are directly related to each other and often found in a lot of Irish and Celt mythology, because it's about that intertwined weaving, the Holy Trinity. But what's interesting is that's also called a trifoil, meaning tri, three, foil meaning turn. If you were to remove that center circle and unpeel that triangle symbol, it actually would be a circle. Because
Whoa. If you were to what? If you were to
you see that? Do you see how it looks like what's called a trifoil? It's actually a circle that's been turned into itself 3 times.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
What's
I see that, sure.
And that's also related to, the fish that people oftentimes you'll see on bumper stickers and things of that nature, where it is a measure of Christ, actually. Well, what's interesting is that's only 1/3 of that symbol right there.
Oh, yes.
That's a whole nother story, whole nother day, but it's really cool.
Cool.
That's very cool. And whose sign is that?
My
in the
brain's not
band?
working. I think so. I think
Well, it's the other one on the bottom, but
that's
they're
John.
related.
That's John Bonham's, and then
Okay.
my brain's blank.
I have to look at them.
Here.
Hang on.
Wow,
we have to look.
that's amazing, man.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Wait, hang on. He's grabbing.
I should have had this here in front of me.
Here we go.
Oh,
John
John
Paul
Paul
Jones. Okay, that's John Paul Jones.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Yeah. Plant was a feather.
Yeah, plant was a feather.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was about communication?
But these are so
Yes.
similar.
Well, they are similar, but they're different. And the difference is, you see how there's a circle in between it and John Paul Jones in his. You see there's a circle in between the trifoil.
Which one was John Paul Jones?
The one on the top right.
The circle with the triangle
This one?
point. Yeah, trifoil. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
That circle unified the Trinity.
Yeah. Someone just said the Holy Ghost.
Right.
Right.
That has been related to the Holy Ghost.
But
Absolutely.
it's been around way before that.
It's been around. Well, it's been a shared image of inspiration before time. That is really something, and this is where I get fascinated and accelerated, because many of these symbols go back, before Egypt had them.
Before whatever religion adopted
Yep.
it to mean what it wanted it to mean based on something from the past.
But what's interesting is there is a thread between each one of these that continue to be true on each. They're like golden threads, they call them.
Wow.
Well, okay. I mean, my natural question, because when
Yeah.
I think of, unless you go through the whole, all right, let's go all the way back to who came first, the Egyptians, the Greeks, who was it started everything off?
Yeah, well,
You go all the way back there, and
Yeah.
these icons existed in that time, right?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
they meant things to do with the planets. And I know about Aristotle and I know about Galileo, but I mean, do you think this was influenced by extraterrestrial things, or do you think that it's the golden thread? And when I say that all things are energy and everything's connected and so on and so forth.
So I'll answer your question with a unique solid form riddle. And here's what I mean. There's a gemstone, which I'm sure everyone's heard of, called sapphire. Okay? Its name in Greek actually means Saphiros, meaning dear to the planet Saturn, meaning blue stone, actually, blue sky stone. And that the Greco-Roman connection of sapphire was incredible because they felt that sapphires were a gift from Saturn. Now, what's interesting is Saturn has an incredible amount of iron. In fact, it has more iron than percentage than any other planet. I mean, it's like very iron nutrient rich. I just so happen, thank you, my trusty friend. I don't know if you can see what that is, but let me tell you what that is.
Leave it straight.
I know what I think I know what that is.
Okay.
Okay, what is it?
It looks like a crystal, or I've seen that kind of thing before. It looks like a scratched mirror, but I'm sure that's not what it is.
No.
But tell me if I'm wrong.
Well, you're white hot. What it is, it's actually an interior of a sapphire with some very unique inclusions. And what they are is they make little triangles at 369 degrees, perfect little triangles all in there. And the way sapphire grows in these perfect little tubular forms, they always make these beautiful triangular shapes on the interior. Put up that picture of Aleister Crowley, could you please?
Sure, let me
His best look too.
Angus is knocking, but that's okay. Well, let me
With the pointed
let me
hat.
get Alistair on the line here. Alistair, yo, dude, where are you?
Who, me?
There you
Not
go.
you, no, not you. Well, it could be you. Do you have a hat like that?
I might.
Uh,
I know. I'm concerned. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. Sorry, Brad. Go ahead.
So if you take a look, he actually has the pyramid on the top, triangle.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
If I had a better picture for you on the top of his hat, and we're not talking about the guy on the bottom of the screen, his hat, Alistair's hat, Angus's hat, yeah. It actually has what's called a blazing star that comes out, a radiating point of light, and it's actually kind of a six-pointed star, which in this six-pointed star, the Solomon seal, and that is something that is repeated over and over again that helps connect all this together. But the six-pointed star, that hexagonal formation, the interior, is exactly how sapphire grows. Remember, this was done.
Actually, I did not know that.
That there was no gemological knowledge of advanced magnification to pull these little forms up, but it's through the vibrational energies that that many people in the metaphysical community look at in the sapphire. These numbers add up coincidentally to what Tesla used to write about all the time is 369. Tesla was so fascinated with the numbers 369. This is a fun one. He actually, in the later part of his life, rented a crappy little apartment because it had it was number 369, which was his final resting place. He was fascinated with 369. Felt it had the connectivity to release the energies of life.
Well,
which
I've got.
And so you have.
Wait, let's see.
Which what?
So go on.
No, I was going to say, so you have Jimmy Page, who was fascinated with Aleister Crowley, lived in his house, read his books, and decided to use that
And harness
and
this.
harness the concept of do as you will, and he infused that into rock and roll. I mean, listen to the man play
Yeah.
guitar, right?
Yeah, I
Look
mean,
what he
it was
did.
a literal mind spring of expansion of mind through lots of different ways.
Through LSD back then, right?
Yeah.
Different people did all of this to expand, and it went through many bands.
But so here's the thing. I told you earlier when we were talking about the show, is I am like your average person. I'm like you're like I've got a button-up normal job, but I love this rock symphony that goes on of uniqueness. There's no music, there's no part of entertainment genre that has ever really absorbed this interest to me like this, and it's forever unfolded.
Well,
And,
I have to tell you something interesting before I let Angus do his thing. Guess whose birthstone is sapphire?
Whose?
Mine, me.
Oh, there you go.
We'll show you some
You
cool
didn't know
ones.
that. What's that?
We'll show you some cool ones. We'll show you some beautiful sapphires.
Oh,
And we need pictures. Yeah. No.
Tomorrow's his birthday.
Tomorrow's his birthday. Yay!
birthday.
Happy birthday!
Yeah, the last rose of summer. Listen, are you guys gonna?
Oh, I was just going to say, all of these signs and symbols, they all connect, especially when you bring in the planets. I mean, this stuff has been around since Egypt and I'd say Greek and Roman times. I mean, this is the building blocks of societies and what they were based on moving forward into where we are today.
Retelling the story.
Unfortunately, today, so many of us don't know how important all of that was.
But there's so many great lessons.
So many great
There's
lessons.
powerful lessons. And by the way, in rock, listen, rock inspired like my life in so many ways. I mean, listen, I grabbed a microphone in Stockholm one night and played karaoke, sang karaoke, Guns N' Roses, Paradise City, because I had the inspiration of alcohol and rock.
Which go hand in hand.
You know?
All right. Well, so what, are we going to continue the ZoSo next week?
I think
If people want to, we can revisit it, or what we can do is we can continue on and maybe talk about the Ankh, because it is related.
Oh, the Ankh.
Yeah.
All right, so let's do the Ankh. I mean, I think we covered the ZoSo. I know I learned a lot of stuff about it. And it's interesting. I wonder who came up. Well, you know what? The Led Zeppelin people will tell us.
I'm sure
Somebody came up with it. It was either Page's idea and everybody else got one.
Definitely Pages. He found that book in that guy's house.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
And by the way, I am an open book of learning more. So
Yeah, I mean, you can't know everything.
yeah.
But what I thought was interesting, what Brad and I were talking about, is how Aleister Crowley was a very complicated character in history. People are, think all this crazy stuff. And there was some crazy stuff. But then how he evolved and changed through time as he learned what life was really about.
Yeah.
He went through this one stage and moved into another. And I just think that right there is an evolution, and thinking about evolving with new information is so important for people to maybe think about, evolve. And you may learn something fascinating as you move forward.
Right.
And that's what rock is. Look at how it
Oh, believe me, I know. I've been looking at it all my life, you guys. I've been looking at it all my life.
And look at how your styles have changed too.
You're cutting in and out.
Oh, I was just saying your styles have probably changed over the years, and you've just gotten better and better.
Yeah, well, that's always been the goal, right, Angus?
That's right. That's always been the goal.
All right, well, listen, I'm going to let you guys go. I'll call you after the show so we can catch up and go over
Very
this.
informative.
Yeah,
Very
but
good.
great. Thank you. Thank you both. This is very cool. All right, so I'll call you in about 15, 20 minutes,
We'll
okay?
see you Monday.